Hello everybody, welcome along this morning. Before I start quickly, I must say the app is working, so we're going to use that for any questions that you have at the end of the session. So if you haven't downloaded it already, please do it quickly now, and that's the way to submit any questions that you might have for Michael at the end of this session. Feels slightly strange doing an introduction to you, but I'll just pretend you're not there for a second. Thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to be here this morning. Thank you very much for joining us to talk to this gentleman who has such an incredible breadth of experience to his life, really, be that as a writer, be that as a comedian, be that as an actor, be that as a broadcaster, and still going strong, and still so many things for us all to enjoy. A new book coming out before the end of the year, Erebus, The Story of a Ship, a new drama on ITV, Vanity Fair, and more pressing is an extraordinary two-part series that he has made for Channel 5, where he went to North Korea. An extraordinary and unique series, which will be broadcast later in September. 2 years of planning, complete high levels of negotiation to get unprecedented access in this incredibly unknown territory. Michael Palin, welcome.
Thank you.
Give him a round of applause, please. I'm going to get straight in with the clip very soon, but before we get to that, what was the appeal to this particular project? Why did you want to do it and stick with it? Because it was 2 years worth of, actually coming to fruition.
Well, I mean, I particularly like travelling to places that are off the beaten track, and no country is further from the beaten track, I think, than North Korea. So when Channel 5 asked me to do it, a long time before we actually got to filming it, I said, I've got to go. I've just got to go. Because I'm interested in countries which seem to be demonised from the outside. I want to know something behind the headlines. What's really going on there? What are the people like? They're not necessarily to blame for the politics and all that sort of thing. So if it could work, I said, yes, I'll do it. Although I must say it's the first of all the countries I've been asked to go to, which my wife actually balked at slightly. Said, "You're going to North Korea, dear?" Normally she's very, very keen for me to go on very long journeys. I think perhaps that was it. It was just a very short journey.
Or maybe she thought you weren't coming back.
Yes, exactly. There was absolutely no hesitation in saying I'll do it. All I would say is, as we got nearer to the time, I thought, how are we going to do this? Because certainly at the end of last year, things were looking very bad out there. America and Kim Jong-un and Trump were trading insults and all that. It looked as though it would be a very dangerous and difficult place to go to. Then suddenly things changed with Kim Jong-un's speech, I think New Year's Day speech this year. And then suddenly it looked as though we had the green light.
Well, we're going to take a look at your arrival right now in our first clip from the series. I've been lucky enough to see the first episode, and we'll show some wonderful clips throughout the session. But what was your emotion? What was your feeling as you were pulling up and as you were told to turn that camera off, and that was your first experience? A
combination of things. One is I was tired and shagged out after a night on a Chinese overnight train. It was very tiring. Also, I mean, I wasn't exactly nervous or fearful, but I was apprehensive. I think we all were, just because it's a volatile situation there, even though there's a kind of rapprochement, feeling of rapprochement between North Korea and the rest of the world. You still didn't know what was going to happen, whether you'd actually get in, or at the last minute your papers would be sort of rescinded, or else something would happen. Someone would fire a missile somewhere, and that would be it. We were there. Then we probably wouldn't get out. So little kind of anxieties about being hostages and all that did go through my head. I'm not sure with the rest of us. What was nice, what I liked about the way it was shot, it was very intimate, really. I mean, the camera was there, and just whenever I wanted to say something, I just talked to the camera. So we didn't have a sort of series of set pieces to camera, sum up all your feelings now. So a lot of that is just as we're going along, and I'm taking it all in, and I'm tired and shagged out, and I'm trying to make sense of it all, and I'm apprehensive. But it has a sort of real feeling of intimacy, I think, those moments. Yeah.
The crew is such an important part of this journey in terms of, and on a programme particularly like this, where you're kind of stepping into the unknown, but that relationship between you as a crew in terms of it not just being about their ability technically to get things on the moment, on the fly, but also as a group of people who there has to be a relationship there as well. Was that an important part for you?
I mean, it's always very, very important. You are what your team is, really. But in this, I think it would have been a very lonely place if you're just on your own, because things were different, things were a bit strange, things were unfamiliar. So the fact that the crew were all there on the same adventure, and also biting their lips slightly and all looking slightly concerned and a bit bemused. At least you were sharing your bemusement and your uncertainty. And that made it part of the adventure, really. And I'm very, very glad there were people there to sort of share it with me.
What did you want to achieve with the series? What did you want it to be about, and what did you want to try and get to and discover?
Well, I wanted to really do the same as I've done with most of my series, which is trying to get below the sort of the barrier of authority or above the barrier of the tourist board, and somewhere in the middle there, try and meet the people of the country. And that's what I feel I can do best. And so in this case, what I felt we should do was just try and create a portrait of North Korea as it is now, of the people of North Korea. Try and hopefully just watch them, observe them in their lives, what they were doing, try and make connections between ourselves and themselves, all part of the human race and all that. I knew that we were not going to be able to deal with the political situation. No one was going to talk to us about anything like that. But what else was there? That's what interested me. What else could we find out? What would they let us do? So in a sense, each day was a different day. You weren't quite sure how it was all going to work out. So that made it kind of exciting and revealing at the same time.
From the previous travel shows that you've done, one thing that is always really evident is you have this amazing ability to communicate with people even though you don't speak the same language. There's just something warm about you. And
I think I can talk to people who don't speak the same language more easily than I can people who do. I've discovered that. What were apart from the obvious barriers of kind of the control, and we'll talk about that in a second, what were the other barriers in terms of trying to get to people and communicate and find out and discover? Well, I couldn't just go up to somebody and say hello. I could watch them. We had two guides, So Yang and Chun Chul, who were excellent. She's 28, he was around about the same age. They were the people I could talk to. And So Yang spoke very, very good English. And it was interesting. She wanted to know a little bit more about my life, but on the other hand, there were only certain things she could ask me and only certain things I could say to her on camera. So I suppose they were the two people I could talk to slightly off the record, if you like. Beyond that, well, you'll see that there were moments when we actually I've got amongst people without a feeling of being observed and being restricted, and that was great when those happened. There was a particular day on May Day when they all take off to the park and have barbecue and drinks and all that, and then all sorts of people talk to me there. But it was difficult to step outside the prescribed area and say I want to speak to somebody over there.
Yeah.
But it became a little easier.
Yeah.